What's going on, everyone? I am just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about Canadian news. Because as an American, I never see Canadian news here in the United States. So today, I'd like to take some time to learn about the current news and events that are happening in Canada right now that I otherwise never get to hear about. So let's take a look, starting with a man broke into a London, Ontario girl's room after deal on a lower plea. Her mom says there's been no justice. What? Wait, what now? This sounds absolutely terrifying. And I'm also confused every time I see London. There's a London in Ontario. Okay, got it. A man broke into a girl's room, and her mom says there's been no justice. Really? Legal experts describe the role of plea deals and how victims aren't necessarily consulted. This guy broke into a girl's room in her home and somehow got some kind of really like favorable plea deal. You should yeah, I mean, just, I'm no judge. I don't know how Canadian justice system works necessarily, but my knee-jerk reaction is like if you break into a 13-year-old girl's room in the middle of the night where a 27-year-old neighbor was at her bed rubbing her back. Oh my god. That'll scar you for life, right? Jeez. What the heck? That is just bizarre and creepy and terrifying. Yeah, if you do that, you should get in a lot of trouble. That that shouldn't be a thing. Oh my god. Terrified, she couldn't even call out for help. She just told him to leave. He did, through a second story window he had climbed in through. What? What? He had cut through her window screen. It's a nightmare. I couldn't keep my kids safe. Yeah, that's a nightmare for the parent. You find out your child had a grown man sneak into their bed and rub their back? What is happening in London, Ontario? What? And what was his plea deal? Um, Mom says the teen is afraid to be home. Yeah, I mean, yes. Talk about trauma. Traumatic. Scared to be home, probably scared to sleep alone in her own bed for the rest of her life. The man was charged that same day with sexual assault and breaking and entering. Yeah, so what was the plea deal? In 4 months, with the 1 year conditions of his sentence expiring, the man will be allowed to move back next door to the girl and her family. If he doesn't get into any more legal trouble, he won't have a criminal record. I feel like I've lost my child and the system has failed us. I failed my daughter. Oh my god. This is shocking me. So this guy somehow got a plea deal where, like, in the next couple of years, if he stays out of trouble, he won't even be labeled as like a sexual offender. Like yes, all he did was rub her back in the middle of the night. Like, I don't know the definition of sexual assault, but that should definitely probably be right about there. Like you can't do that. But yet he did, and he's being released, and he's gonna move back next door to these people. Oh my god, I feel so bad for these people. I'm glad they made an article about that. That's incredible to me. Not in a good way. She weighed less than 500 grams at birth. Huh? This PEI, Prince Edward Island, micro preemie is now 6 and thriving. What? This is kind of a good story. Defying the odds and surviving. Look how small this baby is. The size of this person's hand, basically. Oh my god. How young were they born? Um Paisley Rose Adams. Looks like most kids in grade 1, just a bit smaller. She was born 4 months premature, weighing less than 500 grams, less than a pound. Wow. Modern technology is pretty unbelievable, isn't it? That you can be born 4 months premature and still survive and thrive. That's amazing. That's fantastic. Is that like 4 months premature? Jeez, that's got to be close to like a record. How premature is the youngest preemie ever, I wonder. Anyway, housing for Jasper, Alberta? Alta. What is Alta? Jasper, Alta. Alberta. Is that the, anyway, is that the short way of saying it? Workers, another hurdle on path to wildfire recovery. Did they misspell this title or something, or is it just me? How housing for Jasper Alta? Alta? Hold on. Jasper Alta. Let me look this up. Alberta. Yeah, okay. Jasper Alberta. Why Alta? Is that how you do the short version of Alberta? I don't mean to get hung up on this for so long, but anyway, workers, another? Workers find another hurdle on path to wildfire recovery, is what I'm guessing they meant to write. 12,000 people go to Jasper every year to work for hotels, tour companies, and attractions. So, anyway, this is Jasper, Alberta, which of course was the target of a huge wildfire disaster earlier this year. And I would like to see an update on this. Many Jasper, Alberta restaurants. This title has really thrown me off. Jasper residents are waiting for temporary housing to let them return to the mountain community. Well, it's nice that they're starting to rebuild, reopen, get this temporary housing built, get people back into the area working, the tourism starting again. That's all good. That's all very good. I'm glad to see it's heading in the right direction. What else? Let's scroll down here to take a look at a little earlier in the week. I want news from the entire week that I've missed. That'd be great. What else? Anything interesting here? Oh, I asked 50 Saskatoon residents what matters to them this election. That could actually be interesting. Ahead of the October 28th election, there's an October 28th election in Saskatchewan? I'm guessing? People told the CBC why education, healthcare, and cost of living are top of mind. In America, we're having an election very soon. Huge election, my God. Sometimes I try not to even think about it. But cost of living is at the top of American minds. Not really education or healthcare, funny enough, even though those are big issues. Education isn't really an issue in America, even though we have some of the craziest expensive education. A lot of people in huge debt from taking out student loans. That really isn't that talked about much this election cycle. Healthcare, I think Americans have just accepted our healthcare system for what it is. But cost of living is something that most people just cannot ignore. What matters to Saskatchewan residents in this month's provincial election? Interesting. A healthcare system? Okay. Well, I was hoping this would be more about all of Canada. That is an interesting look into Saskatchewan, which is having an election I didn't even know about. Interesting. Let's keep going here. Tough to identify battlegrounds in British Columbia election? Another election? Are there elections in like every Canadian province coming up? Elections for what? I feel like I should know about this, but I don't understand what these elections are even for. Like in America, we have, governors, senators, the mayor, the presidents, the House of Representatives, all these different positions that you can have elections for. So I'm not sure in Canada what we're talking about. in Saskatchewan and British Columbia. But anyway, that's surprise, surprise. I do not understand everything in regards to what's happening in Canada. That's okay. Um, what else do we have here? We're drowning in reusable bags? What a strange problem to have. How school cell phone bans are playing out in the country's classrooms this fall. Are cell phones banned in Canadian classrooms? New wave of policies. Students and teachers are weighing in. This is interesting to me because I've been out of high school and all that, like school, for quite a few years now. If we had had cell phones, like when I was in high school, we had flip phones. And I remember the iPhone was basically just being invented. Just barely. No one really had it, smartphones. People had Blackberries were dying, and we had flip phones, the Razor phone, the good old days. So I can't even imagine what it would have been like with smartphones in school. What a incredible benefit they would offer, but what an incredible distraction they would be. So it doesn't shock me to see that they're getting banned. What do people say? Students are more careful when they're using their phones and stashing them in their pockets. Okay. There's a lot less phone usage in class. Yeah, and I mean that makes sense. If it's not for classroom activities, you shouldn't have it out. It's like, gosh, nowadays it's like basically having a Nintendo or like a gaming system at your hands, or a whole computer. You can watch YouTube. You could watch Tyler Bucket while you're in your classroom. No, don't do that. Listen, pay attention to your class. She said, adding that certain apps are blocked. You can't access them. Really? Interesting. This is grade 9, they're banned. Cell phone usage has been rampant. Teachers were kind of loosey-goosey about it, and they were less productive. Interesting. So there's rules and regulations over cell phone usage in Canadian classrooms. Interesting. Probably good. Probably something we should consider doing in America. I'm not actually sure exactly what we're doing here in America to mitigate classroom disruptions with smartphones and whatnot. Interesting, interesting. I like that. I like that. Within reason, I like that. Okay, let's keep going here. A masked person breaks into old Montreal building minutes before a deadly fire. This is in Montreal. Tourist staying in shoebox room feels lucky to have gotten out. A person broke into the old Montreal building and there was a deadly fire. Major fire broke out Friday morning. Really? What is the old Montreal building? Oh gosh. Oh wow. I'm not sure what this building was for. Someone snuck in and set fire to it. In Montreal. Wow, that's terrible. Woman accused of 3 murders in Toronto, Niagara Falls, and Hamilton this week? What? A woman has been accused and has been charged 2nd degree and 1st degree murder in Toronto. 3 separate deaths in 3 different places, actually. I'm not sure how far is Niagara Falls from Toronto. And what's Hamilton? I don't know. What? She murdered unidentified woman in her 60s, someone in 47, and a 77-year-old. Oh my God. This is outrageous. Randomly targeted people. This is too sad. Oh my God. That is outrageous. Well, condolences, to their friends and family. I don't really know what else to say. I hope justice comes to this very, very troubled person. Wow. That just kind of popped up out of nowhere. I gotta be completely honest. Triple homicide. around Toronto. Wow, that is so sad. The true scale of Canada's quietly devastating wildfire season. Okay, the wildfires. This is like the whole wildfire season for this year in Canada. It's far from last year, but it's still above the norm. Okay. After last year's off the charts, record breaking wildfire season, this year may have felt like a reprieve. Huh. But this past summer was still far above normal by several measures. Really, so this year, wildfires in Canada were not as bad as last year, but still very, very bad. Why are wildfires getting worse in Canada? I'm not sure if that's ever been explained to me. Um, by the numbers, the 2024 wildfire season is on track to be the second worst wildfire season. 5.3 million hectares burned. This is another very sad thing happening to Canada this year, this last few years, huh? The wildfires. It's very, very tricky to stop them, or you really just have to react to them, right? Western Canada most affected. 70% of the area burned was British Columbia, Alberta, and Northwest Territories, and Saskatchewan. Really? Okay, so it's really Western Canada. But it happens all over Canada too, but 70% Western Canada. Dry, it's because of dry and hotness. Dry and hot climate, basically. Is that the simple explanation? Gosh, man, that's just like a climate thing. Not much you can do about that. Anything else? Anything else before we wrap this week up in Canadian news? Anything? A Brantford, Ontario child died from rabies after contact with a bat? Someone died of rabies? From a bat. Oh my God. That is a child in Ontario. A lot of crazy stuff happening in Ontario this week, I gotta be honest. Um, Anything else? So let's scroll down to the bottom here. Scroll down. How British Columbia parties, the election. Couple of sexual assault, youths arrested. She went to Canada and was murdered 2 months later. What? No, 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 no. No, no, no. Canadian figure skater barred for sexual maltreatment. Gosh, is there anything good going on in Canada? Anything? Anything at all? Anything? Toronto police officer sentenced to 7 years for falsifying reports. Jeez. Police officers falsifying documents. That's scary stuff. No, I think, unfortunately, that is about it. No, not that I'm trying to read as fast as I can. No matter where you look, this website, the CBC, tends to focus more on, sort of the negative headlines, I think. Not that much uplifting news, unfortunately. But some interesting stuff nonetheless this week. Some disturbing stuff. Some interesting stuff about elections happening. And whew, wow. Yeah, I think most Americans have no idea what's going on in Canada. I sure didn't. So for that reason, I enjoyed learning about this Canadian news. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on any of this Canadian news, any other Canadian news I should know about that I might have missed. That'd be awesome to hear about. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canada and learning about Canadian culture, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.